Hello and welcome to the Vlogging Pod. Tonight we are joined by Elizabeth Eaton. Welcome to the room, Elizabeth. How are you this evening?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Actually, I saw your profile and I was like, oh, I really want her on my show.
Oh my God, thank you. I
Oh, you're
appreciate it.
welcome.
I'm excited
You're
to be on. You
welcome.
reached out. I was like, this looks fantastic. So I'm
Oh,
happy to be here.
awesome. Wonderful. I'd love to jump right in, if you don't mind, and talk about afterlife. Give me your viewpoints on the afterlife.
Sure. So in previously, I assumed it was just complete wishful thinking and nonsense. And then there was, unfortunately, my dad passed in 2015, and I started to investigate if there was any possible evidence of an afterlife. And I am now pretty convinced there's a preponderance of evidence, and it's highly likely, and no belief is needed, no religion is needed, no God. I mean, not that I have any disrespect if people do believe in God. I just personally don't. And it's purely evidence based. There seems to be some way our consciousness is not created by a brain, but downloaded by a brain.
Hmm, that's interesting. I mean, I'll be honest with you. My father recently, today is actually a year to the date that my father passed away.
Oof, I'm so
So I
sorry.
know. No, actually, this is another reason why I wanted you on the show. And because it is a continuing battle with my own self-conscious. You know what I mean? Like it's like y- you know what I mean? And I'm
Yes.
51, so I've reached
Hmm.
that age, I guess now you're like the 20s are gone, everything hurts when you get up, you know?
Oh
And
no.
you kind of wonder, you know what I mean? That invincible thing about yourself, like, oh, if this happens, they'll make a pill for that, or I can always do this for that. But then as you get older, you start to realize how fragile life is, and especially as our parents age. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It just kind of wakes you up. Is there more to it? You kind of wonder. And as you talk about faith, um, for myself, I believe, but I put a lot more questions on it since my dad. Just because everything that I've seen and went through, and
Mhm.
it just makes me wonder, is there, you know what I mean? Is there something there? Is there something after that? Where is it? Where do we go? What's after this?
Right. And that's why also, I know you said you do have faith. That's another reason I like to say I don't, and that I'm more of an atheist, and that I am pretty much an atheist, is not to disrespect religion. I know sometimes people will come at that approach from a disrespect, but it just kind of like, if I can think there's an afterlife, that means the evidence is really strong because there is no faith or belief in my conclusions. So I hope it helps people, whatever their beliefs are,
Right.
including someone like you. It's like, well, I always believed there was something, and then this horrible thing happened, and it's harder to think. So I hope that gives it another layer of credibility.
Right. So
Mm.
now many will look at you, you're an atheist, and you're very open about that. So your
Yeah.
idealism about the afterlife, does that, I mean, to some of people that won't make sense. And what do you say to those who would say that to you, that that does not make sense?
Well, I don't really understand. To me, it doesn't make sense why a God is needed or heaven needed for afterlife. It just means our consciousness works in a different way. It just means that there are various states of consciousness, most likely tied in by dimensions. There also seems to be forms of reincarnation. There's some two child psychiatrists at the University of Virginia. One has passed away and one has taken over his practice, Dr. Ian Stevenson and Dr. Jim Tucker, and they study and verify cases of kids with past life memories, professors, child psychiatrists. So, not very spiritual in their approach. And that seems to be how it works. And there seems to be
Mhm.
some way our consciousness, the problem is we don't know the mechanism, but there's some way our consciousness is not created by a brain the way materialism thinks, what I used to always think. And there isn't a creator who then creates you, takes you into a heaven afterwards where you live permanently. It just seems to be the scientific way consciousness works. where it's some other form and takes different forms, and there's a thread that carries through different lives, most likely different states of consciousness and different dimensions. And I don't see why God would be needed for that. That just sort of
Hmm.
seems to be just one explanation of how this maybe could work.
Right. So, but you don't just believe in the afterlife. You believe in deeper connections, right? Psychic and medium real realms, right? And would you care to elaborate on how your realism along those beliefs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think those are different beliefs. I think those are evidence that this
Right.
is the answer. Those are ways we get data and verification that there seems to be something else, and other forms of consciousness, because it is just almost impossible to explain how mediums are getting accurate information. I've had
Right.
readings. Take that for what you will. What is more
Actually,
valid are their
actually, we had
researchers.
readings.
Yeah.
Actually, we had readings here. We've done
Have
them on our
you?
show.
It's
Yes, we have.
crazy, right?
Um,
They're so
right.
accurate with the good
Well,
ones.
when I ask you these questions, don't take me as a non-believer because I
Oh, no
want to.
problem.
I want to believe. Although I
Yeah,
haven't had any really, you know what I mean? There's the logical
right,
side of my brain that says, "Oh, it's this," or "It's this is this," or you know what I
right.
mean? So when I read your bio and your basically the scientific information that you were bringing to your site and to your interviews of your own podcast, it makes me, you know what I mean? It's like maybe this is possible.
That's why I'm doing this. I'm hoping to give people a form of hope. So, I mean, I've asked every skeptical question in the world, so I'm not offended if you do at all. But, like, what's even more validating than me having psychic medium readings is there are piles of researchers. Well, not piles, but there's some valid researchers, such as Dr. Julie Beischel and her husband, Mark Bacuzzi. They founded the Windbridge Institute. They conduct up to quintuple blinded studies on psychic mediums, and these mediums are getting accuracy under tight controls. There is Dr. Jeff Tarrant, who scans mediums' brains using EEG meters and reads their brainwaves. And there's just some fascinating stuff going on. There's a whole department at the University of Virginia that studies this, studies mediums, studies cases of kids with past life memories, and they're all just getting results that are inexplicable in the paradigm of our consciousness created by a brain. So I mean, there's just something. It's either there's an afterlife or physics is going to be turned upside down, and there'll be some other answer that physics explains that's not an afterlife that we can't begin to understand. But there's
Right.
like, it's remarkable. It blows me away.
So when you believe in psychic medium, what is your experience with them? What has happened to you that has put your faith and your belief so much into them?
Okay, I'm gonna just rephrase one thing. I don't have faith and I don't believe. I think there
Okay,
is.
I just meant faith in the system of mediums. I don't mean faith in religion. I just mean the faith in
Okay.
what you're talking about in WTF is your book and
uh,
everything else.
okay. So I have concluded there's a preponderance of evidence they're real. Multiple things. First of all the research I mentioned, and another institution I also will add to it is the Forever Family Foundation, and they also use protocols where mediums cannot do cold reading, cannot do hot reading, which is cold readings where they read your body language and how you look. Hot reading is where they've Googled you. When all those abilities for mediums to cheat have been eliminated, a subset of mediums are getting up to 90% accuracy, and not general information, not information like, oh, you lost a great grandma who loved you. They're getting like names, they're getting specific memories, they're getting, and so I both multiple things. I read all the data, all the research. I then reached out and met the people. They're very
Mhm.
credible. The researchers are credible. I have since gotten to volunteer with the Forever Family Foundation, where I became good friends with the mediums. And when you get to know people, you know they're not delusional, you know they're not cheating. And so they're both, I trust them to assess reality, and I um, know that they're honest people. And
Right.
I've gotten my own readings where I took every protocol you could imagine, like hid my name, excuse me, sorry about that,
No, that's
had
alright.
other people pay. There's just no way they could know who I was. And not all of them, but some of them, they've just, when I sat down and scored the readings myself, they knew such specific things, the good ones, they could not have known. And so when I put that all together with multiple researchers, and I'm just talking about psychic mediums here, there's
Mhm.
a bunch of
Right.
other experiences. There's just, it's inexplicable how this happens. And I've had so many readings myself. I've seen group readings. I mean, it's just, you can't explain it. When I try to come up with other explanations, none hold up.
Right. Well, the experience I've had here, one was an author who, well, actually both were authors.
Okay.
But one, her whole family have, seen the same person show up in their lives. It
Wow.
seems to be run along the women's side of it.
Hmm.
And another one is actually a friend of, my, assistant, Laura, that you've met in email, and she had a connection there, and I think the one thing that, made me believe that there was an option that this afterlife could possibly still be, you know what I mean? That 'cause
Yeah.
I want to believe, but I'm still always on the fence about it, you know what I
Of
mean?
course.
Because I don't know why, but I'm always like, because people tell me, "Oh, well, you're more sensitive or something to it," and I'm like, "No, I'm not, I ain't seen nothing." So
Right,
so
right. I
for
hear
me, I
you.
wanna believe, but I haven't seen anything like, I mean, I've seen some crazy things on my cameras here at home, but nothing that, you know what I mean, nothing that, would scare me not living here. Um,
Right.
but the one of the things that she said to me, the last one that we had, and I believe it was in October, that we had a medium on, the last one that we had on, and she said a phrase to me that only my father would have said. Now, mind you, I wanted to connect with my father all along, but,
Mhm.
she had several people that came forward first, and I very detailed on who they were, and I knew who they were. Um,
Wow.
but the last one, my father came through, and I think it was the statement that she said to me that was like, that was something dad always said. And it was like, do you know what I mean? It wasn't
Yes.
something like, it
Yeah.
wasn't a common statement, you know what I mean? I was like,
Right.
yeah, and so it really, like, you know you know what I mean? It was just that defining moment that, like, maybe there is a possibility that dad's there, you know what I mean?
Right. And when you see that again and again, and you see it happen to other people, because how could this medium have known that line? And,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
and you just see this happen all the time. And it's just like, and even the other people she brought in, whether you most wanted to talk to your dad or not, whoever they talk to, if it's verified and there, that means that that's how consciousness works, that we
Oh,
survive. So
yeah.
if the other
But
person survives, your dad does.
oh, yeah, because before that, the person that she brought, no, I didn't tell her nothing. I didn't even
Hmm.
tell her who it was that she was talking. She described him, and he had said that he was excited to see me and that he wanted to thank me. I can't word verbatim. I can't remember verbatim. I'd have to go back and listen to the podcast, but
Hmm.
basically gave me the gist that wanted to thank me. And the reason I believe that the thank you was in play was because he was the father, well, he's my godfather actually. And his daughter had just passed, and it was months before my father passed, and all of us, even my father, went to the funeral. And I felt the way she had worded it and the way it had come about, I felt that he was thanking us for being there for her. And also because I
Wow.
had went prior to her passing, when to say goodbye to her.
Hmm.
And so I think it was that, to be honest with you. And but I didn't say it in the interview because, like what you were saying, you held stuff back to find out how much would be realistic, and she hit those buttons. And so there's a large part of me that wants to totally believe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm totally open to the whole thing, you know what I mean? But what
Yeah.
stops me is just, you know what I mean? Like, why would it happen to me? Why would it be, you know what I mean? Why would it be me? that's what that's the pulling part for me. That's
Well, what
the
do you
stopping
like?
board.
Why would it be you? But I mean, if it's everybody, you know what I mean? If
Yeah,
this is how it works, this is everybody. And if a medium's talking to you, they're going to get it for
yeah.
you. They're not going to get it for like some random person 10 miles away. So this is just how it works. Just like if your parents, living, call you on the phone, why would they reach you? It seems to be similar, you know?
Right. Well, my mom lives across the pool there from my she shed, so she has an apartment on our property now. So she's right
Oh,
over there.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
Excuse me. So, what have you learned in the course of this? How do you cope with loss? What have you learned in the course of your study and your research based on the information that you provided in your book, WTF?
WTF Just Happened. Oh, about how to cope with loss or all of it? I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
how to cope with loss, I would say for me, it's multiple things. It's first of all that everybody has a different way. Because one thing, I don't know if you've noticed this, and I think most people do, as soon as you have a loss, everyone comes out of the woodworks and tells you the right or wrong way to grieve,
Oh, oh my
especially
god.
people who've
Oh my
never had a
god.
loss ever. And they're like, I lost my goldfish when I was 5. I know
Mm,
how you feel,
mm,
and you need to. And you're like, oh God,
mm,
that is not what I need to do. So,
mhm.
you.
Laura's in the room saying 100% yes, because her and I have
Yeah.
talked about this to an extent. I mean, just abundantly. So yes, you hit the nail on
Abundantly.
the head. Yes.
Yes. So tune out those voices. And sadly, you're going to lose some friends, but then you'll also get other ones. I got just this group of friends that I could never have fathomed before. And there's more of a depth to my friendship. And I think with these people, I think you kind of I just for me, I have no more tolerance for people's like the
Mm,
stuff I was saying, like to tell you how to live your life, like the refusal to ever talk about real things because it makes them
mm,
uncomfortable. So
mhm,
that's deepened. Thinking there's an afterlife, most likely, that is the most transformative thing I could have ever imagined. It's the best thing I could have imagined. So it's kind of putting all that together, all these people, like more of respect for myself and like yeah, like, no, you tell me I'm doing it wrong. Like, no, I'm not going there. I'm not questioning it. I'm not going there. You do not know my grief. And I think just taking all of that and having the grace for yourself that, like, there's no right or wrong way. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions in our society is that the best thing you can do and the healthiest is to get back to yourself as quickly as possible. But you're not going to get back to yourself. You're not who you were anymore. You're different. And for me at least, I needed to grow into something else, whereas everyone was around me was panicking about get back to your old job, get back to your old, and I'm like, That's not there for me anymore. That's not who I am." And I
yeah.
think that's a huge misconception too, that like the ideal would be someone who's like up and running in 2 weeks, sometimes crying, but just back to their old life with like totally fine, you know?
Well, I think the loss is it's very personable. It's
Mhm.
very unless you're with me day in, day out. I mean, in my case, and my husband actually invited his family 2 days after my father passed away to come into the house.
Mhm.
And yeah, yeah, I hear your pause there, and you know what I'm thinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
I blew my mind. And in fact, I was so far in grief
Mhm.
that I didn't think about how upsetting this was for me until after the fact. And
Mhm.
and even to extend that, I just had things like giving me bracelets with the longitude and longitude from family of my where my dad's buried as a gift for Christmas. And
Mhm.
even though that might have come from a good place, I I I look at that and I'm like, "What am I supposed to do with this?" You know what I mean? I
Right.
am blown away by that, and it might be great for somebody else. Somebody else might need that connection, you know what I mean, to where their father is buried. But to me and my close-knit family that was here for Christmas, we all were here, and we all thought of it the same way. We were all like, "Why?" You know what I mean? Everybody was like
Right.
that. And it might be great for that person, but I think when you step beyond those boundaries of that, you've really got to know that person. And I don't know if you ever can know someone that deep where it comes to that kind of loss. Do you know what I mean?
100%. I don't think you can necessarily know it because it's not something you even know about yourself until you're confronted with it. Like
No.
I could not. You asked me how I would have handled my dad's passing before. I was
Yeah.
totally off. Like right when he first got sick, I remember I was supposed to do a work project with a friend, and she's like, "Do you want to cancel?" And I was like, "Oh no, no, I know what I need. I need to be super busy." And then as soon as it started, that was not what I needed. Like you don't know
Yeah.
until you're there, so you cannot know for another person.
No, you can't. I was hands-on with my father the entire time. I was
Oh,
there. I actually helped put a catheter in him and
oof.
diapered him and everything. So, yeah, I don't think. I mean, it's just like being assaulted. You
Yes.
watch movies. You watch movies. Oh, I'd fight back. But when it happens, and trust me, it has happened to me, I
Oof.
froze. I
Okay.
froze.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
think it's the same way in this kind of respect is that you don't you can sit back and watch a movie like, "Oh, I would do this and I would do that." But once it
Exactly.
hits you, once that reality is your reality, it's a total different comprehension of it. It's like, "Whoa." And for me,
You,
that's how it was.
yeah, you have no idea till you're there. It's very true. And for all you know, you might do it differently when you lose a different person, or an animal, or you don't know how, you just don't know till you're there. Like, yeah, I mean, I just in a bazillion years would not have guessed I would change my entire career, investigate an afterlife, write a book. And oddly, in some ways, and this sounds really unbelievable, in certain ways, I'm happier because
Yeah.
I have better friends. The existential dread I used to have after now investigating an afterlife is gone. I mean, I can't think of anything better than afterlife. And I also am sadder in other ways because, like, there's this ache for my dad all the time. And
Oh, yeah.
it's just I'm different. And yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Everyone, that's so true. You watch a movie and you're like, I would do this, I would do that.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
can't say that. You do not know.
No. No, you don't. You really don't. Now, tell us, I've mentioned the book. For reference, we're saying WTF, but you guys kind of know what the abbreviations mean. What the,
Yeah,
so
I won't
the
say
beep, what the beep. And so
it.
tell us about the book and where we can find it.
Sure. It's called WTF Just Happened. A Sciencey Skeptic Explores Grief, Healing, and Evidence of an Afterlife. Part two will be coming out in about 2 months, and the
Oh,
audiobook for
wonderful.
one will be coming out in about 2 months as well. You can
Awesome.
get it on Amazon. You can get it really, actually, now it just recently went out everywhere, like Barnes and Noble. So you can go to my website. You can also find my podcast, which is WTF Just Happened, all about the afterlife, no woo. And it's all you can link to all of it on my website at WTFJustHappened.net.
Awesome. And for all those who are interested, the link is above in the bio. Also, the link will be in the bio and the finished podcast when we have it up. It'll be out to all the social media, so trust me, it will be there, guys. So we've reached that time within the show. But before I do that, I wanted to let you guys know that, and I've had these for a while now. But as you gathered from the podcast, my life has kind of jumbled in, so I haven't really released them. But a couple of my guests have mentioned because I've had some shirts made and I've had coffee cups, and for a while I debated on having the site stuff. But the problem is how do I take care of it? How do I illustrate it? How do I, you know what I mean, post it on the for social media on the website, yada yada yada. As far as that extends, but I do have coffee cups with the vlogging pod on. It says, I've been played on the vlogging pod. Get it? I've been played.
Love
So,
that.
thank you. So we have those if you want to order. I'm not firm on the price at this point. So I'm going to try to get that taken care of soon, but I do have them. I have quite a bit of them. And so look for the site, guys. I'm going to try to get those up and ready. And then all you have to do is email me. I'll send you my PayPal thing and then you'll send me out your address and everything. And then I will ship it. I'll make sure I include the shipping costs and all that. Now, on to the Amazon deal of the day, because I know you guys love those. I found one that I already have. I have this in my little gym inside the house. It's called a walking pad. It's an under the desk treadmill for home. Holds up to 320 pounds, guys. And it's cheaper than those big, enormous things that we have. And this you can put up, put under your bed, put wherever. It's 33% off. It was $299.99. It's down to $199.96. And it's amazing. The link will be in the bio. I want to thank you so much, Elizabeth. I've learned so much from you being on the program today.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much. It was such a fun conversation and interesting.
Well,
I really
I
enjoyed
love
it.
having you. I love it. And I know you have another interest that is why get wasted, guys. And if
Yes.
you ever want to come back, Elizabeth, I would love to dive deeper into that because I'm a big recyclist. Recyclist. I sound like I'm biking here. I recycle, guys. I recycle all my plastic and cardboard and everything. I'm really ticklish about that because it drives me crazy. But anyways, because I'm all about the oceans and I hate seeing that crap end up in them. So, if you ever want to come back on the program and dive deeper into that, I would love to have you back.
I would love that. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah, I'd
well,
be really happy to
awesome.
come back anytime.
Wonderful. As always, guys, I want to thank our listeners. Until next time, bye bye for now.